Hey guys, this is Martin again from Bug Bounty Service, and today I'm going to show you a stored blind cross-site scripting vulnerability. Blind XSS is a special kind of vulnerability whereby you can introduce JavaScript code. The JavaScript is being rendered to the victim, but you as the attacker or you as the malicious actor, you do not necessarily see how this JavaScript code is being executed, right? So because it may fire on another page. It may not fire on the same page where you submitted it on, and then you might be thinking, hey, it's not working. But in reality, sometimes this is, you introduce a comment somewhere and then it will fire for an admin, or it will fire in another context on the page and stuff like that. And so it's equally as dangerous as all the other cross-site scripting vulnerabilities. But today's purpose is really like to show you how this blind XSS works. So as you can see here, we are logged in as an administrator into the management portal. We have brute forced the login credentials in the previous video. And now what I'm going to do is basically I will modify a doctor, right? So you can see I can modify the doctor. It basically tells me I cannot change the picture, but I can change the name, for example, right? Or I can change the description, and I can set the availability status. But let's focus on the first field. And in a real engagement, in a real penetration test or bug bounty hunting, you would try to introduce cross-site scripting payloads into all three of them, right? Or into all of them which are available to you to be controlled by you. But in this video, I'm going to show you simply like changing the name. And then instead of putting a name, I may be able to introduce like a cross-site scripting payload, like something like this. Okay, so you may be wondering why the payload has like a speech mark and then like an angle bracket before the actual payload is being introduced. This is the actual payload. This is simply to close out. This is like a lot of attackers do this. It's simply closing out the previous tag, right? So that it's being put into a new tag. And very often this works very well. You always need to manually verify it, like how it's being reflected and things like that. But especially when it comes to blind and you don't see the output, this is good practice to do, right? So I'm introducing this instead of a name. I'm introducing a cross-site scripting payload, and I hit save information, right? And then I reload the page here, and this is why it's blind, right? Because I'm reloading the dashboard here, and you see here's my payload, so which is good and nice, but it's not firing. It hasn't executed for myself, right? But then it may execute on other pages where it's not sanitized or not encoded, right? So it didn't fire for me, but that's not a reason to give up. So let's head over to the second tab here, which is a user account, which is an ordinary user account who browses around the website. Okay, so you can like manage your appointments and all these kind of things. And in services, there is a funny or an interesting page called Find a Doctor. And then if I click on Find a Doctor, all of a sudden my payload fires, right? Like this payload I introduced through the admin panel fires here on Find a Doctor. And it's because I modified it. And here are all the doctors are listed here. And you can see, you don't really see the payload. You only see like the speech mark and the angle bracket, but the payload fired on this page. And in order to verify this, we head over to Burp and look at the get doctors request, which we send. So it's simply a get request to this doctor's page. And if we look closely, for example, if we search for the SVG tag, you see that basically the SVG onload here, alert document domain, has been put unfiltered into the response. So that means there's no output encoding, there is no sanitization taking place, and it's being seen as code by the server as it returns it to the victim, and that's why our cross-site scripting payload fired. Okay, so I hope this makes sense. This is a small example of a blind cross-site scripting vulnerability, and I look forward to see you in the next video. Thank you.